All right, today we are diving deep into a digital ghost story. We're on the hunt for a piece of commercial-grade spyware that is so slick, so advanced, it can completely take over some of the most popular smartphones on the planet. And the craziest part? The whole thing can start with a single photo that you never even see.
So that's the big question, right? It sounds like something straight out of a movie. How can one single image file, one you might not even open, become the master key that unlocks every single secret on your device? Well, you're going to want to stick around because we are going to pull back the curtain and show you exactly how this incredible digital weapon works.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll look at how this thing was even discovered. Then, we're going to dissect the attack piece by piece. We'll get into what this spyware can actually do once it's on your phone, see how it connects to a bigger pattern of attacks, and then we'll ask the big question, who's behind it? And most importantly, we'll figure out if you're at risk.
You know, our story here, it doesn't start with some big alarm going off. It starts with a hunt. Sometime in mid-2025, security researchers were actually looking for something else, an exploit that was targeting Apple iPhones. But while they were digging around, they tripped over something completely different. A brand new digital weapon aimed squarely at Samsung devices. They gave it the name Landfall. And here's the kicker. This thing wasn't new at all. The evidence showed it had been actively used in the wild, mainly in the Middle East, for almost a year before anyone even knew it existed. It was a true ghost in the machine, running silently, completely invisible. And the whole reason it stayed hidden for so long was because it used a very, very dangerous type of flaw.
Yeah, you really have to understand this term, a zero-day vulnerability. For hackers, this is the holy grail. It means there's a security hole in the software that the company, in this case Samsung, has no idea about. So on day zero, the day the exploit is first used, there's literally no defense, no patch, no update, nothing. For the attackers, it is a wide-open door.
Okay, so let's get into the forensics. Time to break down the nitty-gritty of how this attack actually works. How do you turn a simple picture file into a weapon that can pull off a complete hostile takeover of a phone?
It happens in 3 stages. First up, delivery. The attacker sends a specially crafted image file. Now, this wasn't a normal JPEG. It was a DNG, a digital negative file. You can think of it like a raw photo format that pros use. It's complex, and that complexity can hide some nasty surprises. Second, exploitation. And this is the part that is genuinely terrifying. Your phone's software tries to process this file, maybe just to create a little thumbnail preview in your chat app. That's it. That simple act triggers the hidden exploit. This is what we call a zero-click attack. The victim, you do absolutely nothing. And finally, execution. The exploit works like a crowbar, prying open a secret compartment in that image file, pulling out the spyware payload and letting it run loose on your phone.
Now, it's really important to get the difference between these two things. The vulnerability, that's the flaw. It's the crack in the foundation. In this case, it was a specific weakness called an out-of-bounds write. But the exploit, that's the weapon custom-built to take advantage of that crack. It's the malformed DNG file, so when your phone tries to read this weird picture, the exploit tricks it. Imagine your phone's memory as a series of labeled boxes. The program is supposed to write information only inside box A, but the exploit tricks it into writing outside of box A, scribbling all over box B, which just happens to contain critical system commands. By doing that, the attacker hijacks the whole process and can run whatever code they want.
So just how bad was this flaw? Well, it got a CVSS score, that's the standard system for rating these things, of 9.8 out of 10. That's not just high, that's critical. It's about as bad as it gets. It basically means an attacker can hit you from anywhere in the world, you don't have to do a thing, and they get complete control. It's a hacker's dream scenario.
Once that exploit does its job, it pulls out its payload, which was hidden in a compressed file tacked onto the end of the image. 2 main components. The first one, b.so, is the loader. It's the main backdoor. Its job is to get everything set up and call home to its masters. But the second one, l.so.
Oh, this one is devious. Its only purpose is to mess with SL-Linux. Now, SL-Linux is basically the super strict security guard living inside your phone, enforcing all the rules. This little file essentially walks up to that guard, bribes him, and rewrites the rulebook to give the spyware VIP access to everything, while making it totally invisible to the rest of the system.
And look at this. This makes the whole threat feel so much more real. These are the actual file names of the malicious images that researchers found. Notice a pattern? img2024.wa and WhatsApp image. I mean, that's a massive, massive clue, pointing directly to WhatsApp as the way these things were being delivered.
Okay, so the attacker is in. The spyware is running silently in the background.
what can it actually do? The short answer is, well, pretty much anything it wants. We're not just talking about stealing a few files, we're talking about turning your phone into a 24/7 surveillance device that you carry around in your pocket.
This is what total information dominance looks like. Landfall was built to be the perfect spy. It could secretly turn on your microphone and listen to what's going on in the room. It could record your phone calls. It could hoover up your entire contact list, all your call logs, every text message you've ever sent or received. It could steal every photo from your camera roll. It could even go in and grab specific files and app databases, like your web browsing history. And of course, it could track your location in real time.
But being a good spy isn't just about collecting info. It's about not getting caught. And this thing was a pro. As we saw, it messes with the phone's core security rules to hide itself. It's also smart. It can detect if a researcher is trying to analyze it with tools like Frida, and it'll just shut down to avoid being exposed. It can take any command its operators send it. And the final touch? It cleans up after itself, deleting the original files to cover its tracks.
And of course, every spy needs a handler to report back to. This is the command and control network. After a phone was infected, the spyware would phone home to servers hidden behind innocent-looking domain names like brightvideodesigns.com or healthyeatingontherun.com. This is where it would get its new orders and upload all the data it had stolen. A whole global network, just to run this one operation.
Now, as crazy as this whole Landfall campaign was, it turns out it wasn't just some isolated incident. When the researchers started to zoom out and look at the bigger picture, they realized that this attack on Samsung phones was part of a much wider and frankly more disturbing pattern.
This timeline here tells a really fascinating story. It's a real cat and mouse game. The bad guys had a massive head start. Landfall was out there doing its thing since July 2024. It took a full 9 months before Samsung finally caught on and patched the first flaw. But then, just a few months later in August, Apple patches a nearly identical vulnerability in their own software. This suggests the same people were targeting both platforms, or at least that this was a known trick in certain circles. And it wasn't even over for Samsung. They had to rush out a second patch in September for another different DNG flaw. This wasn't just one mistake, it was a systemic weakness in how phones were handling these image files.
So you see this level of sophistication, using multiple 0 days, building this incredibly stealthy spyware. This is not the work of some kid in their basement. This points to a professional, well-funded organization. So who on earth built this thing?
Well, the prime suspects are what the industry calls private sector offensive actors, or PSOAs. We're talking about actual registered companies. Their entire business model is to build and sell digital weapons, spyware, exploits, you name it. And their customers are usually governments, intelligence agencies, and law enforcement all over the world. They are, quite literally, spies for hire.
Now, it's really hard to definitively prove who did it, but the researchers found one heck of a clue buried deep in the code. The main spyware component calls itself Bridgehead, and it turns out that's industry slang. It's a nickname used by several of the big-name PSOAs. We're talking companies like NSO Group, Veriston, Citrux, for their initial payloads. Now, it's not a smoking gun, but it's a very, very strong hint that Landfall was cooked up by one of the players in this commercial spyware marketplace.
Okay, I know this has all been pretty intense, so let's bring it all back home. We've seen the weapon, we've seen the potential culprits. Now, for the most important part, what does this mean for you, right now, and for your phone?
The good news is that this vulnerability was very specific. The attack targeted high-end Samsung phones, the Galaxy S22, S23, and S24 lineups, plus the Fold 4 and Flip 4. If you had one of those models running Android 13, 14, or 15 times before the April 2025 security update, then yes, you were vulnerable. But the keywords are was and were. The hole has been patched.
And you can check to make sure you're safe right now. It's super easy. Just go into your phone's settings, scroll down to About Phone, and then tap Software Information. You're looking for a line that says Android Security Patch Level. Just make sure the date you see there is April 2025, or anything more recent. If it is, you're protected from this specific attack. If not, you really need to go and check for a system update right away.
And that really brings us back around to the big, lingering question. We've answered how a photo can hack a phone, but the bigger issue that a threat like Landfall forces us to confront is this: when there is a whole industry of spies for hire building weapons that can bypass the security on the very devices we trust with our entire lives, what does privacy even mean anymore? That's definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining me.